So today I'm at a fabric and crafts sale for the Colbert Grange. They have a quilt group called the So-and-Sos, and I saw on social media that there was a sale. This is the third day of the sale, and I came because I was very interested in these bags, these scrap bags. And when I get home, I'll show you what I got. But you can see the amount of fabric. So these are several collections that were donated to the Kohlberg quilt group called the So-and-Sos. And so lots of fabric. And I'm here on the third day. There was way more than this. So some yarn, and just look at all of these books, some of them vintage, some upholstery fabrics, and lots of tins, and so many people have turned out. The ladies just put in so much work. So I'm really excited to share with you what I got here. Lots of panels. So I did pick up some panels. I'm kind of excited about that. And again, this is only just a small amount of what they had donated. Look at all of these little workbasket vintage books. Just terrific. And all these lovely ladies waiting to take my money that's in that bag. Have we priced it? Hello, everyone. So today we're going to go through the bag that I got from the craft sale that I went to in Colbert, Oregon. This was actually a couple of weeks ago that I went to it, but I'm getting to record it today finally. And so I'm so excited to share with you what I got. Here is my bag of goodies that I got at the sale. And I picked up two of these 1 gallon bags of fabric, and I decided to go with like a peach coral and a lavender purple. I thought this would be really great. So I'm really excited to go through, and I haven't looked at them at all. So I'm excited to see what's in them. And I like to do things with panels, and they had a lot of really great panels there. And I have a pattern that I've designed for a fabric company. And so they don't always send us fabric for doing the sampling, but I thought this was a really cute one with this, oh, what do they call this? Where they, I forget what the name is. But anyways, this is a really great panel to be able to do a sample quilt for a pattern that I'm in the process of writing. And then I went ahead and picked this one up too. I thought it was really sweet. However, I realize now that I only got half of the alphabet. So it's alphabet, but we only have half of it. But it's just going to be a sample quilt, and we'll probably give it to somebody who's maybe having a baby or something like that. And I was looking for some yardage for sample quilts, and this was $6.75 a yard, and there were 2¼ yards here. So I thought this would be perfect for a sample quilt. And it's just a modern checkerboard background. Here is another panel. I have a friend that really likes Jim Shore. I don't know if you're familiar with Jim Shore, but they had these really clever Santas on this. And so I thought it might make a good Christmas gift. And I think the panels were $3 a piece, so it couldn't go wrong. And then the kit that I got, this is from Maywood Studio, and it's a printed flannel. And actually, there are no directions in here, but I'm sure we'll be able to figure it out. I thought this might be kind of something fun to do, and not really wanting to dive too deep into a pattern. So we'll set this aside in the stash, which, to tell you the truth, I didn't need anything more for my stash, but sometimes you just can't say no. So let's get to opening up these 1 gallon bags. So I have a plan for these 1 gallon bags that I have purchased here for $5. So this is the coral kind of peach fabric. And I can tell you already, like, I don't know that I'll be using these jack-o'-lanterns into anything. Maybe someday eventually. There's little black cats on it. So I'm going to set this aside. That's not one of my favorites for sure. And some of these little teeny tiny scraps like this, I'm not sure we'll be able to use. But some of these are probably almost fat quarter size. Checkerboard. But I do like this sort of thing for what I have planned. So some of these I think I will set aside. Like I won't probably be using that. This has got a little bit of a tape mark on it. Do you hear that rustling? Well, that is the new Chihuahua. I don't think that will go very good. Not interested in the plain. This is kind of interesting. Um, Maybe we'll use that. I like this kind of Holly Hobbyish. I have a pattern that I just released called Jewel Depths, and um, it's a series of squares, and it's pretty neat how I put it together. I really like it. Here's some more of that. That would be good. I don't think these little ducks are going to go well, so I'm going to set that off to the side. The solids I'm not really interested in. We could probably get something out of that. Maybe in that. I like this if there's more of it. We'll see. Um, but the pattern is a series of different size squares, and um, and several different styles or different scales of fabric. This is a petite, it's lovely, but I don't think it's going to go with some of these other fabrics very well. It's so interesting what you're going to find in one of these little scrap bags. I don't know, polka dot. I think this, hmm, it might go okay with some of that. Ooh, this looks very nostalgic with the little chickens on there. This could be nice. A lot of smaller scale things. So I'm going to set these aside and let's go through our lavender bag. I like this a lot. This it's kind of a modern checkerboard. And isn't this cute? Got some little sheep on it. This has roller skates that you would buckle onto your shoes. Not sure that'll make the cut, but I like this a lot. That's very modern. And we're getting into some bigger scale things. Soft. It might be nice. A little girl with some wings, but I'm looking for more florals. This is neat. Looks like maybe somebody might have overdyed that. This will be good. This will be good. See, there's some good ones in here. I don't think this one's going to make the cut, so we'll set these, put these back in their bags, and so I don't get too awry. I may go looking through some of my own personal stash to see if I can add some in there, but I think it could be really neat. So I'm going to get set up to press some of these out and figure out how much yardage I have and kind of scale back on some. The pattern that I'm using, it has about 6 or 7 different fabrics in it, and it's based on scale. So I'm going to start working on pressing these and determine what's going to be like a fabric A, B, C, D, and get them pressed and sorted. So let me get set up to iron, and we'll start ironing. So I got my iron all um, warmed up, and I have to say, everything seems fairly clean and doesn't have an odd smell to it. So that's good. And it's not often that I have a chance to go to an estate sale, but when I go to an estate sale, one of the things that I really do avoid, and I will caution you about, is buying old thread. And um, I have been told, while I haven't witnessed it personally, that sometimes when you see a very, very old quilt, um, the thing that gives away first is the thread. Mostly, I've seen threadbare quilts that are really old, where mice have eaten them, or just wear and tear because people did really use their quilts back in the day. So I've found threadbare quilts, but never the stitching going bad on them. But I have been told that that is the reason why you want to use good fresh thread. I mean, eventually the thread's going to get old, right? So I do avoid that. I recently had to throw away a whole bunch of thread. Um, my Some of my quilt friends had I was sharing with them the thread that I had, and they're like, "You need to throw that out." And I'm like, "But there's so much here." And she's like, "It's no good. It's no good." I'm like, "Really? I don't want to." But I did do it, and I stripped all the thread off my bobbins. It took a little time, but with great reluctance, I did throw it away. I didn't donate it. They wouldn't even let me donate it. They let me have it. And partly that's because I recently upgraded my long arm. I had it retrofitted. I didn't buy a brand new one, but I had my old one retrofitted, and I'm having a ball learning how to work with it. Still have so much to learn, but that is my new Chihuahua, by the way, that's barking because my husband's outside the door, and the Chihuahua thinks that my husband is his own personal toy, and so he's barking at him because he wants him to come play with him. So if you've been following me for very long, you know that I had a Chihuahua named Bullet. I introduced people to him in one of my videos, but he was getting old, and we had to sadly say goodbye to him. It broke my heart. So now I have everything sorted out. And what I've done is, like, for the green, I have a couple of different scraps here that I'll cut from. And if I run short, I still have my pile over here of ones that I didn't put in the pull, but I can use if I need. So I'm going to keep this handy. And what we'll do is we've got them labeled by the colors in the cutting guide here, and I'll go through and do the cuts that I need, and and then keep them labeled blue, and then we'll start setting up for the blocks. So let's get cutting. So now it's time to get cutting. I'm going to start with fabric A, which I have a couple of different scrap pieces that I'm going to be using for fabric A. And some of the cuts are bigger and some of them are smaller. So what I'm choosing to do is use the smaller scale prints for the smaller ones, and the larger cuts will get the larger scale prints. Now, as a pattern designer, you know we're not going to give you all of the measurements that we're doing, but I'm going to start cutting with my fabric A and move through. I have them all stacked up here, and we'll just go down the list from the blue or fabric A to fabric B, C, excuse me, C, D, and so forth. And we'll keep them organized, and then we'll start setting up for our blocks. We have our first set of cuts done. So I've completed cutting out all of my fabrics for the fabric requirements, and I've started laying out. And this is for block one. And you can see how the lights and the darks are playing against each other. And I'm really excited to see how all of this comes together. So we'll start by sewing block one. And it's basic construction. Like this is a 9 patch, and there's a 4 patch over here, and then we will sew all the blocks together. So I have block 1 done. Actually goes like this. And I have already set up for block 2 on my board here. So I will take this over to my sewing machine and start sewing these together. So we have a 4 patch, we have a 9 patch, a 2 patch, and then a strip of 3 and a 2 patch here. And we'll sew all these together for block 2. So the quilt top is done, the center portion. Now all we have to do is put on the borders. And I love how this turned out. I was able to use up some of my stash along with the scraps from the scrap bags that I got from the sale. I thought this was a fun little project. I love how the colors blend together. It turned out a little bit more red focused than I planned on, but overall, I think it was really good. I will show you, these are the borders that I'm going to do. I'm going to do the purple. The pattern calls for 3 border stripes, and I'm going to use this soft peach color for the inner border to kind of quiet it down. I decided that I'm not going to do the 3rd border on it. I was going to use red, but it just felt like too bold. There's enough red in the centerpiece that we did, the center of this quilt top. So I'm just going to leave it as is. So I'm going to put those borders on and get this on the long arm and start quilting it. Well, my scrappy quilt is all done. So I used the pattern Jewel Patch that you can find on my website to create this quilt. And I have to say, it turned out terrific. The bindings are all on. I have put the seam binding on. I attached my seam binding to the back rather than the front. And then I sandwiched my hanging sleeve in between the binding and the quilt, along with my little tag there, so that we can get a couple of steps done in one go, and then pressed the binding to the front, did some big stitch, blanket stitch with some red pearl cotton on the binding to make that a little more fun and to just give a little pop of red. So I think it turned out really smart. However, I wanted to take it a step further. Let me see if I can get sync. Down here in the bottom area, down here, I have decided I want to do some applique. I think that would be really fun. And I have some of the scraps left over. And I've gone ahead and just done a couple of samples up. So here are my cute little flowers that I have created using some of the leftover scraps. I want to show you how to make these and how I'm going to use them on that quilt that I just made. I don't know if you've noticed, but I have a new little partner here. A couple months ago, I had to say goodbye to my beloved Bullet. It was 14 wonderful years and one bad day, sadly. But now we have Bodhi, and Bodhi's getting up to speed. He's 8 months old now. I've had him for a couple of months, and he's been taking a lot of time and attention. It's important to raise them up right when they're young, but we are having a moment here where he's resting on my work table in his bed. I just love it and cherish it. And I can't believe that we've actually gotten here this quick. So you'll be seeing more of him in the future. I'm hoping that if you haven't subscribed to my channel, that you will. I love to interact with the people who are watching my videos. So leave a comment, ask a question. I'd love to hear what you're thinking. Until next time, happy stitching.